Order online at picassospizza.net.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this Train Wreck Sports Podcast, where we are here to pay the bills. Jake Micah joined, as always, by my co-host Mike Bunt, and now, as always, by our new co-host joining last week, Ajay Sobolski, back again. Guys, we are here. It is June 10th, and Mike, James Cook showed up to mandatory minicamp today. AJ,
Yeah,
James
I'm
Cook,
surprised.
mandatory minicamp today. Are you guys surprised? Let's just start there, and let's start with you, AJ. Are you surprised that James Cook showed up today?
I mean, not yes and no. Yes, because of just like the antics during the off season. But again, I don't think they were to that extreme. Like I was never worried about it. Like I knew regardless that if he didn't show up for mandatory minicamp, that I would have been shocked if he missed training camp. So no, I'm not surprised, but I am surprised because you see a lot of guys. Trey Hendrickson was out today. He didn't report. The rookie in Cincinnati, I forget his name, but he also didn't report. So that's what these guys do, right? When they're looking for those contracts, and that's a common thing. So I wouldn't have been surprised if he did. So I was kind of in the middle. Obviously there were reports last night that he was going to show up, so I really wasn't surprised because obviously those sources they circle the wagons. Shout out to them. They've broken a couple things, so they broke the news yesterday. So I kind of had an idea that he would show up, and then that kind of followed the Schefter this morning. So yeah, I think he's doing the right thing, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised up until the tweet last night from Circling the Wagons that AJ just alluded to. Once they posted that, they do have a little bit of credibility on stuff like this. So I trust they had something. They knew something about him showing up. I really thought he wasn't going to show up because minicamp really isn't considered that big of a deal if you miss it. TJ Watt and Trey Hendrickson both skipped minicamp with their respective teams. Cook obviously could have sent a message by holding out. What this kind of tells me is a few things. Number one, being a running back in the NFL, you don't make enough money to just give away anything that you have in fines. And number two, that the Bills and Cook probably aren't at a point where they're close to getting something done. And if Cook realizes that they're not close to getting something done, why sacrifice any of your money that you're going to make this year on top of it? So a little bit surprised, but at the end of the day, this is the best thing for the team for him to be there. And now they can keep things moving in training camp.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I'm not gonna lie. And then I heard him talk, and I put my PR cap on here, and it's actually I should have seen this coming the whole way because I'm not gonna lie, guys. The press conference irked me. I'm not gonna lie. Press conference irked me, and because he said all the nice things. I'm here to win. I'm here. I'm a leader on this team. Think I'm a leader on this team. Want to be here for the guys. All the other stuff, whatever. You're going to say all that. You don't need to say that you're going to make money too. You just don't need to say it. You don't need to say that I like money. That's why I'm here and all this other stuff. So he said the quiet part out loud, and that's fine. I'm okay with him being honest and showing up to work and doing everything else. But for me, him showing up now is a move to save face with the fans more than anything else. I don't think he's here because he wants to put work in as much as he is like, I'm complaining about money and then going to get fined and lose money. That's not a good look for me publicly. I think that has as much to do with it as it is him showing up and earnestly putting on an effort for the team. Now, of course, he's going to say that to the media. The guys probably don't give a shit. They just want him on the field. I'm just taking it in for what I think might inform decision-making going forward. I think him mentioning the money and then the team shows us where the priorities are, and that's fine. That's fine. But you can't talk about both sides of your mouth then. Like, it's one or the other. It's not, I'm here for that and that. It's the money, and that's fine. You don't want to get fined. You want a big payday. You're trying to maximize that. Cool. Let's work on that, though. Let's not give him the credit. Oh, he's such a great leader. Nah. I'm not doing it.
Jake, that's why he said what he said, because he will get credit for saying that, and that's what the team wants him to say. You're in PR. You know what you would tell somebody that's if you're advising them, you would tell them to mention doing this for the winning and be a part of a Super Bowl, and then you get AJ tweeting about it and getting 1,000 likes, and it's how the system works. It's a beautiful thing, but Yeah, we all know why he's there. It's simply so he doesn't get fined. But if he comes out, Jake, and says, "I'm just here to not be fined," then he looks like a dick, and that doesn't come across well, especially when every fan over the age of 50 on Facebook is already grilling him for wanting $15 million. So I don't know. It's a kind of a no-win situation either way. Uh, he said what he said to win some fans over, and can you really blame him?
Yeah, I was
Oh no,
gonna.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. I was just gonna add, like, I see it a little bit differently. Because I think everybody in his shoes would say the same thing. And like I think it's like kind of honesty, right? Like I like hearing honesty and him not like playing it down and not mentioning it at all. Like I'd rather him mention it and then also allude to the fact that he wants to be there for the guys and he wants to play and he wants to, get his reps and he wants to, be where his feet are at. And that's, his current situation. So I actually respect it. Like the press conference actually made me appreciate James Cook more. And that's just because in hindsight, looking back at the Stephon Diggs thing and him leaving mandatory minicamp day one, being excused and all that, and how that was all handled, like you could tell that was a rocky road. With James Cook, you really feel like it's just going to be like a 1-year thing. Now we can get to like what happens after this year, and I'm sure we will. But in terms of today and how he handled the situation, whether it's PR or not, I think he alluded to the money, which everyone would, and which everyone was thinking like that. That's a big part of it. And then also the fact that, he wants to be there for his team and be around the guys. So I think he did a good job. I think he cleared the air. He got up there and spoke on day one. A guy that doesn't speak a lot, right? How many times have you gotten a notification James Cook live after
Yeah.
practice or live after game? He doesn't really speak much. So for him to go up there, talk about it, even though he's probably not that comfortable with it, it gives him more leverage in the future for other teams that he handled it appropriately. I think it's the mature way to handle it. And he's going to be there at training camp, he said. So I think all things are kind of squashed with this. I think it's time to move on. I think it made out to be more because of the Stephon Diggs. Like we had this fear that this was going to happen again, but James Cook's definitely a much more centered person. And I think he actually does care about winning in his team, unlike the other guy.
Well, that's all dependent on what your expectations were going into this. So if fans thought he was going to truly hold out throughout the season, I would have said those fans were pretty much crazy for thinking that, because he has to play a certain amount of games or be around for that to even accrue a year. Otherwise, he's not even going to be a free agent next year. So he really couldn't hold out the whole season, because then he wouldn't have been able to get his money next year. A lot of people were saying, well, he could have held out training camp. Yeah, I guess he could have held out training camp, but if the Bills weren't going to give him a contract, I don't know how that would have benefited him in any scenario. Yes, he could have protected against injury in that scenario. And what happens now if he does get hurt? He could say, kiss a lot of money goodbye. But really, the only way he's going to get the amount of money he wants next year is by having a great season with the Bills. And the only way that happens is if he's in minicamp, he's at training camp, he is involved with the team, and they make sure to maximize his ability out on the football field. If he skips half a training camp and ends up rushing for 450 yards on 4 yards a carry, you know what he's doing next year? He's signing a small little deal, and he's going to have to prove himself once again. So I think this was the best case scenario for really everybody, assuming that a deal wasn't going to get done. Mm-hmm. The fact that James Cook, as you said, AJ, showed that he can be professional about this. He's obviously not happy about his contract. He obviously wants to be getting paid more, and there is a level of risk he's putting himself in by playing without an extension. But it shows that he sees the bigger picture in front of him, and that the Bills also realize we need you on the field. So this couldn't have gone any better, and I think it's good news that this isn't going to be a Diggs issue or a holdout situation going forward.
And I do think that some of him showing up is exactly what you just said, in the fact that the one piece of leverage the Bills had. Now, yes, James Cook makes them a better team. They're going to want to use him. But the threat they can give him in June is, hey, bro, you want more snap? Like, I'm sure he wants more snaps than what he got last year. Like, you want more snaps? Show up. Like, the less you show up, the less opportunity you're going to have. And I think that's completely fair. And for a guy who, I mean, what was his percentage at? Like in 50% of snaps played, mostly first and second down, not playing a lot of third downs, and a guy that's looking to have more than 1,000 yards rushing, like he's looking to improve on last season to get that big payday for sure. He needs to ensure more than anything that his usage rate is higher than last year, or at least the same. And I think that's the biggest thing that he could have upset by not showing up, is not anything to do with the new deal, but to mention the team. I feel like it is like, listen, like, we'll play Ray Davis. Maybe he's not as good, but if he's going to show up, we'll play him. And I feel like that is a very valid thing for McDermott and co to use as leverage. And I feel like that's part of the reason he's here today, because he needs to be on the field to get that payday too. Like, he needs to have a better season than last year. He needs to have 1,100 yards rushing, in my opinion, to improve on this. He needs to show it again that it's not an outlier. So I do respect it, especially from that, AJ, like, to show up to work knowing, like, I got to earn this still as much as anything too. Like, last year didn't earn me this money. I thought it might, or at least, you know what, I had to shoot my shot. Like, I had to try to make it, and it didn't work up until June 10th. Okay, now we reassess. So I do respect that. I don't have a problem with the presser to begin with. I just think I just saw the manufacturedness of it through it, and I'm like, okay, now we're here. Now we're level. We're all square with where the Bills are coming from, where James is coming from, where the fans are at, and we can reassess on June 10th from where we have been. And I think I like that for where we are. So
let's ask the big question. Let's ask the big question.
Yep.
Is James Cook going to be on the Bills beyond this season?
Yeah, I would. Two things. I would say my point real quick. And I also think James Cook's never made this about himself. Like, he wasn't used properly last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was not, especially down the stretch. Like, he needed to be on the field more. And he's never made it about himself in his usage, and has talked about that openly, or it's never even been rumored. And I get it's a different position. Receivers, they're complaining about their targets and all that, and that's kind of what they do in the wide receiver one. But James Cook's, I think, just handled it. James Cook has handled it really professionally. So that's just my kind of, just to finish that. But I think it's dependent, Mike, going back to your original question about will James Cook be a Bill next year? The reason I say that is because the Bills do not have any premium asset at wide receiver, right? Like, where are they allocating a lot of their money on offense? A couple of receivers, Palmer, Shakir. I guess you maybe could throw in Samuel. They're paying Knox a good chunk of money. You have Connor McGovern, who you've invested in, Dawkins you've invested in, obviously the quarterback. But I think if James Cook has a really solid season, and the Bills, their formula with Joe Brady is running the ball more, right? They're emphasizing that. If James Cook can help this team win a Super Bowl, and he's a key part in that, I could see him coming back on an extension after the season and trying to stay in Buffalo, because if that's the case and they're successful with what he brings and what he plays more snaps, or even if he does the same thing as last year and is just a big time player in a big game, I could see them keeping him. Now, the more likely scenario is he leaves and the Bills fall short and he goes somewhere else where someone's going to pay him. But I'm really prepared for anything at this point with James Cook, because I think he is capable of getting himself a contract in Buffalo if he's a pivotal piece in a Joe Brady offense that, we've seen utilizes James Cook in the run game. And again, if they can bump that up a little bit in his usage, I think he's a guy that can stay in Buffalo. I'm not counting that out yet. Would I be surprised if he did? Yes, but in that extreme scenario I kind of laid out there, I think there is a path for James Cook to be on this roster this year and beyond.
I think it's going to be tough for him to come back. And not saying the Bills wouldn't want him back, but there's a lot of things that are going to have to go right for him. And when you factor in his brother's history, I think that's going to be a major disadvantage for the Bills when it comes to negotiating this. Dalvin was a fantastic running back with the Vikings, but he never really got his money there. He had a lot of production, but he never got his big payday. Got a small little 1-year deal with the Jets for like $7.5 million, but he never really cashed in despite his production. I think that makes James all the more want to cash in. And you look at him right now, he's 25 years old. He's in the prime of his career. He's going to get money from somebody. Now, the question is he going to get that money from the Bills, or is he going to get it from somebody else? And what is his max value? You look at the top-end guys in the league. Is James Cook, a Saquon Barkley, a Christian McCaffrey, a Derrick Henry? No, he's not. All those guys, I think, to be that top-tier running back in the league, you can't just be elite at one thing. You have to be elite at multiple things. You look at Saquon. He has phenomenal balance, speed. He's a 3-down running back. Derrick Henry, he's so good at being physical that he's a 3-down back. He can run over you. He can wear you out. Christian McCaffrey is elusive. He can be he's great in the backfield, but he's also a good receiver. James does have an elite trait, though, that I do think gets him in that tier 2 of running backs, and that's his explosiveness. He can take any touch to the house. And if Devin Singletary, for example, was the Bills running back last year, I think there's probably 5 touchdowns at least that don't get scored that James Cook was able to take to the house because of his speed and because of what he can do at the next level. The problem is James Cook is seeing all these elite guys get money, and he's coming off his second 1,000-yard year in a season where he ties the Bills' single-season touchdown record for running backs, and he thinks he's worth that $15 million. And yes, maybe there's one team that's going to give him that money, but the Bills aren't going to be that team because they have Josh Allen at quarterback. For Cook in Buffalo to work, it maxes out at about 11 to 12 million. That's just under Jonathan Taylor. That's Alvin Kamara, right around that type of money, Jacobs money. And I think that would be really fair and respectable. But is Cook willing to sign for that? I think if he was, it all depends on his mindset. If he wants to be part of a winning team, be a respected running back, and get paid well and have the combination of a million good things, yeah, maybe he'd be open to that contract extension and compromise a little bit. But not everybody in the NFL cares just about winning or just about being part of a good offense. Maybe Cook wants to go somewhere where he doesn't just get 200 carries a year, where maybe he can be a 250-plus carry back. Maybe he wants to be more involved in the passing game. It could come down to money. Maybe he just wants to go to the highest paid, the highest bidder. Or he's a guy from the South where he went to Georgia. He might want to play for a Southern team for all we know, in a better environment, maybe a bigger city. So there's a lot of variables that we don't really know right now, and we're just going to be speculating on. But at the end of the day, I just don't see that path unless the Bills compromise and go a little bit higher, because I think Cook has too much history lessons from his brother to realize that you get one chance at this, and that's it.
Yeah, it's tough for him because the market does not right now. It's like if he were to go to another team that's going to pay him, it's not going to be a team that's as good as Buffalo. So what does he care for, right? Like Tim is a Devin Singletary diehard defender, so he will go to the grave on that. The thing is, here's the question I have for you guys: would they franchise him? Because that's at about 12 million. And if you're a team that is ready to win a Super Bowl again next year and you want to keep James Cook around and don't want to do this dance all summer, all season, you could do it. Now, they don't do it. They've strayed from it. It'd be paying him. I think the franchise this year was 12.9 around there, 13, something like that. I can look it up quick. And then the transition would be a couple million under than that. Even a transition tag. Like who's paying James Cook and giving the Bills a draft pick for him? Like if they want to do that, sure. So I think there's a lot. I feel like the Bills have all the leverage in this negotiation, and Cook really this offseason, to me, had to do this. Like he had to set the bar as high as possible and had to try to get his money as soon as possible to hope the Bills would bite, because I feel like it's the leverage. At least it doesn't necessarily go down, but there's way more chances that his leverage is less next offseason than it is this offseason, in my opinion.
Maybe the Bills are banking on that too.
Yeah.
I mean, if Cook runs for 850 yards and his yards per carry go down to 4 or 5 and he gets 7 touchdowns this next year, we'll all be laughing when he's saying $15 million. That's why he wants it. See, that's why some of this negotiations doesn't make a ton of sense for me, because I do mention how like he learned from his brother. But a counterpoint to that could be his brother never got the long-term extension. If both sides are willing to compromise a little bit, you can make more money than your brother ever did, have locked-in securities, and be on a team until your late 20s and have a highly productive NFL career. But I guess at the same time, if you have the utmost confidence in yourself, you believe you can do that no matter where you go. And
yeah,
you might think that, well, the Bills are trying to penny pinch and I'm not going to give in to that. So there is a lot more risk for Cook than the Bills, because if Cook does get hurt or he doesn't produce, the Bills can simply move on from him. While for Cook, that could cost him millions and millions of dollars and several opportunities.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Again, I think he played really well last year, and I think he's a guy that they obviously like. And all the players have spoken highly of all the coaches. Business is business. They had to take care of other guys this offseason. Christian Benford comes to mind, and a couple. There's a couple other guys that they extended. So I think this Bills team right now, they like what they have with James Cook and Ray Davis and Ty Johnson in that running back room, and they're just going to live in the moment. I think, again, this isn't going to be a topic of conversation anymore, and we're just going to look forward to the season and hope James Cook has another really good season for us, and whatever happens beyond that.
You're
muted.
Let's throw numbers out there. What is a fair deal for James Cook? They were talking about this on the morning show on WGR earlier. They asked Jeremy White, asked Sneaky Joe, would you take a 3-year, $33 million deal for James Cook where you pay him $11 million per year? And I think that's that line where, like, you'll have some people say yes, some people say no. Most of the fans said yes. If you change that to 3 years, $36 million, you might see a little bit of a shift. Where do you guys stand on a 3-year 33 or a 3-year $36 million, where you're getting 11 or 12 million per year with Cook?
I think I would lean towards giving him like 2 for 28. Honestly, I would say I'll give you the chance to get to 28, even maybe like base at 12, so 2 for 24 up to 28 escalators, something like that, and not crazy escalators. Give him the pay, make him earn it. Don't give him long term. I'm not as pressed about them if they give him a big number as much as I am them giving him, like my dad here put 4 years, 45. I don't mind 11 per. I don't want to pay him in that 4th year for 11 though. So that's what worries me in this negotiation as much as the money is. Listen, I'm down to pay a running back for elite production. I don't know if he's going to have elite production age 29. So that's what worries me about extending a running back. Can you get them to agree to the shorter deal on a bigger money so he has that guaranteed money for a couple years? Maybe. I don't know though. So I think 3 for 33 is probably the limit I would do on a long-term deal, honestly. What about you, AJ?
Yeah, I'd be fine with. I mean, it's really dependent on this season because I'm bought in on James Cook, but again, I need to see it again. But if he produces like he did last year, 3 for 33, 3 for 36, when you're not putting a lot of money into the wide receiver position, and he's a guy that you can trust, I'm fine with it. I think that's now if you're getting like 3 for anything above 12, like 10 to 12 million. And now it's funny because I was at 10 million earlier in the offseason. But then I saw the market kind of rise with a couple of running back extensions. So I've creeped up a little bit to 12 million. And I think that's kind of my limit would be 3 for 36, give him a lot of that guaranteed. And I think, if you're getting into 4 years, I don't know. It's hard not to trust Brandon Beane at this point with how he does extensions, but I'm around 3 for 11 or 3 for 12 per year. And I would be okay with that if he produces like he did last year with this team and this offense.
I'd be all for it. I'd be all for it. I said earlier this offseason, the 15 million was crazy. I didn't want to go much over 10, just like you, AJ. The market has obviously shifted a little bit more pro running back in the last year or two. At this point in time, I do think 10 to 12 million is perfectly fair for Cook. Is it on the high side of what I'm comfortable with? Yes, but at least you know what you're getting for the next 3 years. I don't mind giving him a 3-year deal. You're talking about a guy that's 25 right now, turns 26 in September, which means he'll be 28 during the final year of that deal. Everybody talks about running backs falling off a cliff in their late 20s, early 30s. James Cook really wasn't much of a bell cow at any level. In Georgia, he really didn't get a ton of carries. Early on in his NFL career in Buffalo, he hasn't gotten many carries. Really a low percentage of goal line situation type snaps up until last year. He doesn't take big hits. He's elusive. He's explosive. So I really don't think he's the guy that you have to worry as much about wear and tear and what's going to happen to him as he gets older. Now, maybe you worry a little bit about explosiveness, but unless he gets an injury or something that can have a long-term effect, I think 3 years is a perfectly fair length to give him. The money really isn't a huge deal. The way I look at it is if you go into the offseason and you're willing to give another running back like 7-8 million a year, is that guy. If he's not within $3 million worth of James Cook, just sign James Cook. I get it. Like 4 or 5 years ago when the Bills were throwing the ball left and right, but the run game is a big part of their offense now. And I know everybody's saying, well, it's because of their offensive line. Yeah, their offensive line is good, but let's give some credit to the running backs too. James Cook has been dynamic as the Bills running back, and everybody talks about Ray Davis. His numbers weren't on par with James Cook in the run game last year. They weren't even close. James Cook has been. I'm just going to pull this up right now to have his stats for a comparison. James Cook, 1,009 yards last year, 4.9 yards per carry, 16 touchdowns, 32 receptions. And then Ray Davis last year, just pulling this up, and I know these are the basic stats. These aren't anything fancy. 3.9 yards per carry. And I get it. Ray Davis is more physical. He's a different style runner. He's running in short yardage situations. Those can hurt your yards per carry and all that stuff. But that's a full yard less than James Cook per carry last year. So I don't want to just automatically say that anybody could fill James Cook's role and do it as productive as him. A yard per carry could make a huge difference in the Bills' offense overall, especially with their passing game going down last year. So I think he's worth the money. Will the Bills ever get to a deal? I don't think so, but we'll see how it goes.
It's gonna be interesting to see. I think that it's Mike. I wonder how much of that is can he do it? Did any of those teams think he could be the bell cow? Is it because he hasn't had the opportunity, or is it because they don't think he could last a whole season with his frame and everything else? I don't know the answer to that, but I do think it's a valid question to ask about him with the way he's been used throughout his career. But listen, the talent that's not the thing. Like, he's obviously extremely talented. I think it's like you said, the roles that he plays, like he just needs to do like one or two more things to be on the field more. That's kind of where I'm at. AJ, do you have any last thoughts here as we wrap up on the show on James Cook? What's next in the saga and what you expect for the summer and for this season specifically, what you expect out of James Cook?
Yeah, I hope to see a similar James Cook, injury-free season for James, and I want success for him. I think again he's a huge part of this offense now. I don't think we've ever gone into a season with James Cook on the roster or with a running back on this roster that's like as important as this year. And I think this is a pivotal year for this offense. I think it's a pivotal, you're getting Joe Brady back. He had an interview with New Orleans. He stays in Buffalo. That continuity there, the trust. I'm just looking forward to James Cook and what he can bring in both the pass game, run game. Can he improve his pass blocking at all to get on the field more? There's a lot of little things that I'm looking forward to. Can he keep the ball off the ground and all that? But yeah, I'm looking forward to see how they use him in the red zone again, goal line. His touchdown production is that, was that an outlandish season from him, or was that more of an outlier season, or was that a season that he can actually continuously, produce that at that rate? So, and if he does, he's probably not a Buffalo Bill next year, but with his team and how it's assembled, if he's producing like that again, they have a great shot to get to the AFC Championship again and make a run. So that's really all I'm looking forward to. Joe Brady, James Cook, how that continuity builds in this offensive line and how they kind of gel together.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it all works out. This offense should be it's tough. On paper, the Bills are a more talented team than they were last year. They're a better team. The roster
still about
players, but statistically, are they going to put up the same numbers as last year? I don't know. It's going to be hard to replicate 30 points a game and everything that they did last year. So even in the McDermott era, you've seen them bounce from 13 to 11, 13 to 11 to 13 several times. So it's going to be tough because I do believe Cook can replicate his rushing yardage and his yards per carry from last year, but the touchdown numbers are going to be difficult for him to get to. 16 touchdowns, that's a high number for any running back in the game. But I do think he can put up numbers, but a lot of it's going to be all dependent on what Joe Brady wants to do for this offense. Last year, they lacked separators in the passing game, and I think a little bit of the offense was forced to be a power running team and a team that can run it down other teams' throats because they didn't really have the ability to attack teams in the air some ways. Now you bring in guys like Josh Palmer, Elijah Moore, and you have different receiving threats on the squad. I think they will go to the air a little bit more this year. Will that mean reduced carry, reduced workload for Cook? We'll see. There's a lot of different things that'll play into it, and at the end of the day, if he got 11 to 12 million, I think that'd be more than enough, like fair market value. It seems like his ask right now is on the unreasonable side, but that he is dug into his position and that he's unwilling to waver from it. So when you're negotiating with someone that isn't really, I don't want to like be rude here, but like not practicing common sense, you're not really negotiating at all at that point.
Yeah, it's fair. That's a great way to end it. I mean, it's true. Like if you're with expectations are so far off in life, if you're talking to somebody and they're being irrational, you're like, what can we even do here? That's Bunt, you put some things sometimes that I just makes me laugh. You're one of a kind, truly. So
You hear that,
appreciate
AJ?
you both.
Yeah, I know those crazy common sense like Jack Quinn 30 goal 30 assist statements. They're just insane.
I didn't
say they were all good crazy.
None of that.
Good crazy. Could be the bad crazy too.
Yeah. It's but I know they're out there.
Yeah, they're
I
out
know
there.
it. But this has been great, guys. We paid the bills. Well, so James Cook may be here for the long term, but he's here right now. And we'll be here right now and for the long term. We'll be back here next Tuesday at our regularly scheduled time at 7 p.m. Eastern. And going forward for the summer, as mini camp will be wrapping up next week, and we'll be in the real dark ages leading up to the end of July and training camp and everything else. But we'll be locked in here, bringing you all the Bills news. So for AJ Sapolsky, for Mike Bunt, this is Jake Micah. Shout out to our sponsor, Picasso's Pizza. Get your Picasso's Pizza anywhere nationwide at picassospizza.net. We've paid the bills. Shout out to you all for joining along tonight. Have a great week. Go Bills.
Peace out.